And here we are on the Zoom. Did a Zoom podcast today with the very talented Talyn Duncan. He is a musician. He runs some gyms. He's a great personal trainer. Just had a son. He's a very deep guy, very knowledgeable man. I enjoy speaking with him every time we do a podcast. I believe this is our third podcast. First video podcast, very exciting. I had some people lined up to record podcasts before I left Amarillo, and due to time constraints and other things, I wasn't able to get them on, but the next several are going to be virtual, so I can get those people back on, and then I will move on to in person. Still trying to figure out the best way to record those visually. I've moved to Austin. Noticed a lot of podcasts do have a video essence to them, and I think that'd be a great idea, a great thing to move on to. I'm still trying to figure some things out as far as doing some local podcasts, but I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun. Thank you for sticking on the journey. Don't forget, you can donate to the podcast through anchor.com. There will be a link in the details. But regardless, I hope you enjoy the podcast. Like I said, I had on Talyn. It was a great time. Lots of fun catching up. Please enjoy the episode.
Clemente's Corner, Clemente's Corner. Good night, bye bye, good morning. Off.
It's really cool here. Oh, snap. Sorry. Did you hear that?
Are you good? Yeah.
Okay.
It's all good.
But no, it's great. I moved to Austin about 6 weeks ago, and it's a crazy place. Lots of fun. Complete opposite of my hometown. So
Totally.
I'm enjoying it right now.
Good. Good.
Yeah, this is the mecca for stand-up comedy.
Is it really?
Yeah, there's like endless amounts of open mics. There's like 2 today on a Sunday.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've done 9 this week, so it's been great. It's been a fun time. Yeah,
you've been going in, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's why I moved here, just to do that more. So
yeah, for sure. So how did you end up hearing about Austin and like hearing about the comedy scene out there? Is that something that you are like always familiar with and always wanted to move out there, or did you just end up kind of making some moves along the way?
Well, I always knew I wanted to go somewhere bigger with a bigger scene, but I wanted to stay in Texas. My original plan was to go to Dallas, but I was looking up like top places in the country, and like Austin and Denver were like the top 2 cities aside from like Chicago and LA and New York. And so the plan was like, all right, I'll move to Austin. And that was before COVID. So that was like, I guess 2019. Yeah, around then. But I was broke. So I was like, I'm going to save up and move. And then COVID broke out. And I was like, well, I don't want to move right now. And then once COVID happened, a ton of comedians moved to Austin. So it looked like I was following the trend. But in reality, I was ahead of the trend.
Let the record show.
Yeah.
I was ahead of this thing. I knew it. Okay, that's awesome, man.
But yeah, most comics here have moved from other parts of the country. So it's like barely anyone I know in this city is from this city. There's very few, which is like crazy. It's a crazy place to be.
Yeah, for sure. So have you been working on like new material to like make your debut out there? Or are you making like some of the same material, just revamping it for a new city?
I've used some old material here and there, but I'm mostly just writing. I'm also just being in this environment. It's been a lot more motivating because I have so many chances to go up. Like in Amarillo, I was like, well, I'm going to go on stage in a week and a half. So I have a week and a half to write.
Yeah.
And it would be like the day before and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to write some stuff. But now it's just like, I've got 2 or 3 mics tomorrow. And it's every day. Like I'm in that comedy mindset. It's a lot easier to be in that mindset when it's like nonstop.
Yeah, for sure.
So my writing's gotten a lot better just being here, just being in this environment.
Nice. So have you noticed just being in the environment, like it was an increased amount of material, or did it just come easier for you?
Both. It came easier.
Oh, dang. So you got like the perfect combination then.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. This is a magical place.
Yeah, that's
I like
awesome.
it here. The rent sucks, but everything else is cool.
Yeah.
And then the
Big city rent.
homeless issue is a thing, but you know,
Yeah. Yeah. So
nothing
I've
you
heard.
can
I
do
haven't
about
been to
that.
Austin. I haven't been to Austin in like been a good 6 years ish. And even back then, it was still pretty bad. And I've heard it's only just like gotten worse,
Yeah,
especially,
I'm sure it's
up
changed a ton in 6 years.
yeah, for sure. Sure. But I mean, I was just like a tourist in that big city.
Hmm.
It didn't even feel like Texas, how
Yeah,
big it was. You know?
it is. It is crazy. It doesn't. There's a good mix of like liberal and conservative here.
Yeah.
Because you would think it would just be like this liberal haven, but there's a ton of conservatives here too. So it's like a good balance, you know. And there's little reminders like, oh yeah, this is still Texas. This is still that red state that they're trying to turn purple, but it never will be purple. Stay red forever.
Stay red. Red like the blood we bleed, man. Dude. So I've been really looking forward to getting to finally meet with you again. Like last time, it was nuts. My son was going ballistic. And so I'm so glad that we were finally able to get to sit down and chat because it's been too long since we got to catch up on everything. So,
Yeah, for sure. This is awesome. There were so many people like I wanted to get on before I moved, and there's probably like 4 or 5 more people I'm going to try to get on Zoom because
nice.
I didn't have time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
And
trying
it
to
seemed
figure.
like it was pretty like a spur of the moment deal. Like I didn't know that you were planning on that. And then one day you're like, all right, peace.
Yeah, I mean,
Which, I mean, hey, whatever works.
I'd been planning on it for a while, but I
Yeah.
guess I didn't really openly talk about it publicly.
Yeah.
If you saw
Yeah.
me in person, I would have told you.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. So, first things first, we got the intro to like your comedy debut out there. How is it going with those like turnouts and everything? Are the turnouts pretty good for all these open mics? Because it seems like they're really frequent based off of what you told me.
Yeah, the it depends on like the room, the venue itself. Some some mics are strictly just comedians, and so you're just telling jokes to guys who aren't listening. They're looking at their notes. They don't care. But
Yeah.
there's several where people will show up every week, different people, and just to watch. So those are great. There's one that goes on at a park. It's like a free beer mic. So you, if you sign up, you get. I think anyone gets free beer, but you get a free beer. It's outdoors. There's a bunch of food trucks, and then just people will show up and watch, and you get like an honest reaction. So yeah, yeah,
Plus free beer. That's an awesome incentive to
it
go out
really
and
is
tell some jokes, right?
fantastic.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome, man. So I'm glad to hear that you're actually getting out of the panhandle area and going and making something. You know, I know that we've heard so many people in our just group and connections like we hate it here in Amarillo, want to get
Mhm.
out. We wish that more happened, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really happy that you're actually going out and pursuing that instead of just being one of the wannabes like the rest of us,
Yeah, I feel you. But
can't seem to peel away.
how you liking Dumas?
Man, so if I'm gonna be I don't know who's gonna listen to this, so I'll try and be as honest as I can. Um, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But so we've been here about a little over a year, right?
Hmm.
And the first year, I absolutely hated it. I abhorred everything in this city, this little town. It's not even like
Oh wow.
really. I can't really call it a city.
Hmm.
Um, but I just saw it as one of those things where it's like, all right, this is gonna be a temporary move because this is a great segue into my wife's career, and this is a great way for me to just save up, get some money, we'll buy some land, right? All that kind of stuff. Well, at the end of the year, we were thinking about moving, and my wife and I, we were youth directors throughout this entire thing, right? And so we ended up building like really deep connections with a lot of people here in the town. Um, and I'll be I'll be like super transparent. I was praying a lot. I was like, God, I don't want to live here anymore. Like, if you can make something happen, in another part of Texas. Like, just please not here anymore. And so I think, I don't know if you've ever experienced this in like your own spirituality or like mental tracking or anything, but I convinced myself, I was like, God does not want me to be here. The universe does not want me to be here. So we need to move.
I think we
So
all have those thoughts.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it was, I don't know if I did that or if I actually heard God, but I was like, okay, it's time for us to move. Like, I feel like God's telling us to move. Let's get out of here. And we ended up resigning from our position as the youth directors.
Hmm.
And then we didn't move. We just stayed. And honestly, though, I think it was for the best because my wife ended up passing her licensure exam as a social worker. So now she is a licensed social worker, which is big moves for her career, right? If we would have moved, that probably wouldn't have panned out that way. Um, and now that we have our son, it's like, man, the people in this community genuinely care about family
Hmm.
because there's so little to do here. Everything is like small community minded and community based. And there's so many people here who genuinely want us to succeed. They're going to help out, you know, the small farm town kind of mentality, you know. So as far as it stands now, we're here for another year. And this year I had to really like change my perspective, change my mental and emotional attitude, you know, like, all right, if I'm going to be here for another 12 months, it's not going to suck ass. I'm going to make the most out of it. Right.
That's great. So you already have, you say another 12 months. So you think you'll still try to, find another area at some point?
That is a great question. And this is we could bounce off of, this could be a launching pad for many other topics. But what we were thinking was, hey, we'll take another year here. Uh, we have a decent rent. It's like, let's save up money and let's just either buy property or uh, start building, right? Well, as soon as we started looking into that, that's whenever the housing market just started going, you
Oh,
know,
so it's insane there too.
oh my God, it's terrible.
It's
It's
everywhere.
absolutely terrible
Yeah.
everywhere. You know, per square foot, you're looking at paying anywhere from like 150 to 175 bucks per square foot. And we were like, you know, I'm 26. There's no way in hell I can afford this right now. And so we're in the middle of trying to figure out if we want to buy property here and start investing more into our community or moving a little closer to family.
Hmm.
We don't know yet, but my wife's job is one of the biggest things that's keeping us here. It's like uh, one thing that we kept hearing over and over and over was follow your favor, follow your blessing, right?
Hmm.
And so my wife has got insane favor and blessing at her job. Like they want her to stay. Uh, and so who knows, man? 12 months from now, we might just have a house here and end up spending a couple more years here. But we do know for a fact that this is not going to be a permanent resting place for us. You know, uh, we know for a fact that there is a season where we are going to move. We just don't know when.
Yeah, that's
So,
great. Congrats on the son.
hey, thank you. I love bragging about him. Like, uh, and seeing him grow up has just been insane. So he is 96th percentile in height
Hmm.
and 86th percentile in weight.
I heard he's already
So
deadlifting 80 ounces. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. uh,
got
yeah.
creatine
So
formula. So sounds
creatine, we got the protein in there. You know, a little bit of HGH every now and then. Now, um, but he's massive, and he doesn't fit in 6 months. He just turned 6 months yesterday, right? He doesn't fit in 6 month clothing, and so we're having to go like 9 to 12 months just so that he can fit in clothing, or else he's just like busting out. And so we're really hoping that he keeps this kind of pace so that he'll just be a big monstrous kid. That way, you know, get him into sports. He's already going to have the genetics to be successful, that kind of thing. And so, uh, yeah, proud dad moment whenever
that's
they
awesome.
tell you, yeah, it's like, hey, he's projected, you know, probably be a little over 6 foot, and I'm only 5'8". I'm like, yes, let's go.
That's
Yeah,
congrats.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. What's his name? I'm thinking
Emerson.
Emerson. I was thinking Emmett. I knew that was wrong. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah. Emerson, and it means strong and courageous, brave and courageous. Sorry. Uh, so yeah, he's a hoot, man. Every new parent that I had talked to who was like, "Oh my God, it's so much fun. You're going to be like fanboying over like all the little sounds that he makes." I was like, "Yeah, that kind of seems obsessive. I don't know if I'll be like that. I'll just kind of let him do his own thing." But no, it's a real thing. I obsess over all the little sounds he makes.
Mm,
Uh, every day is something new for him, So uh, whenever work sucks or whenever you don't have a good day of motivation, or you're just tired,
hmm.
getting to sit and watch this guy with his eyes wide open, just experiencing the world around him, it just makes everything so much better.
That is awesome. Has he started crawling? 6 months is when they crawl, right?
Uh, he hasn't started crawling yet, so he's like doing the whole rollover deal.
Hmm.
So infants, they you almost always lay them on their back, but then they need tummy time, right? So they strengthen and develop the muscles in their neck, right? And that also helps with their coordination. So we've been doing the tummy time, and he's been rolling back and forth, and so that's like the first step into crawling. And we just got one of those little walker deals, and he's already starting to like be a little more mobile around the house. We got to watch him now. He's not just stuck stationary in one part. So it's a little freaky whenever you set him in the living room, and all of a sudden he's in the dining room. And you're like, what the hell? Yeah,
That's funny. So
but
you
yeah,
were employed as a youth minister, correct?
yes.
Okay. And how long did you do that?
So my wife started. She took the position while I was the trainer and general manager over at Anytime Fitness in
Hmm.
Canyon, and so she was commuting back and forth. Uh, and so whenever we told them that we were interested in moving over there, they said, "Hey, Talyn, we'd love for you to come on and be a co-director with her because you've been in ministry for what, like 8 years, different levels of ministry. And so they're like, this would be a great way for you to kind of dive in a little bit more." And so we did that for all of COVID, which was weird having youth over a Zoom call.
That is weird.
Super weird, man. I don't know how we did it, but we ended up keeping a lot of the kids interested. They were excited to get on Zoom
Hmm.
uh and do like games and stuff. We would go through like cringe TikToks together and share our screen and all react to these terrible TikToks. That
That's
was fun. But yeah, so I did that for about a year and a half. And so now now that we're out of that, I'm looking at just doing like some of the worship directing kind of stuff. Because like I said, we resigned. And so it's like, well, where do we fit now with the church after we said we were going to move and ended up not moving?
Oh, I see. So you told them that you were planning on leaving, and that's why you stopped. I wasn't sure why you decided to resign.
Yep. Big old cluster.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now you have a baby, so you're like, don't ask about it. We have a baby. We're busy.
Yeah. Yeah. For real. For real. It was like I could kind of see it from the perspective of like some protection was happening from the Lord. It's like, oh, your mental health is not going to survive if you've got two jobs and a 6-month-old son. You know,
Hmm.
I don't know how well we could function at that level.
Yeah, and you're also like making music, um, making exercise videos, streaming. You
Yep.
do a ton of stuff, man. Like
I do a ton of stuff.
I
Yes.
can't ever say like I don't have time because then I look at Talon. Like he has 75 jobs and a baby.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I will say my pace has slowed down dramatically.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like one song now takes a solid month to go from start to finish. You know, I don't know if you experience this whenever you're writing material for comedy, but you know, you have a flow, you can feel like some sense of energy and some sense of uh, just mental vibe that you're going with.
Mhm.
Uh, but imagine that, and you're just having to constantly hit pause and play again, pause and resume,
Mhm.
because you have the responsibility of caring for another human life that can't depend on their own, right? So it makes it really tough to create material at that rate,
Mhm.
especially whenever you're no longer in that flow, you know?
For sure.
Uh, you come back and you're like, all right, where was I? I can't even remember. I'm just gonna shut it down for today, play some Call of Duty, and go to bed. But yeah, so I'm doing that. I'm also a regional director for a personal training program, uh, and we're developing a new online model for all of our company's stuff. And so
Oh, that's awesome.
life, is,
Is that
yeah, yeah.
anytime, or is that a different company?
So it's a different company, but we outsource all of our Anytime Fitness outsources to us for their personal training programs now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool because I'm still in tight with all the Anytime people in the Panhandle. Now I just oversee 6 different gyms. I oversee the training programs in those gyms. So
Wow,
Borger, Pampa, 2 in Amarillo, Dumas, and Canyon. So
that's cool.
yeah,
The one in Canyon, I think, was like my favorite one. That's
dude, by
like
far.
Amarillo. Are there any other big ones like that?
No, the Borger and Pampa gyms are real small. Dumas, a lot of people come to the Dumas one just because the only other gym in this town is the YMCA, and it's packed all the time, and they're not 24/7.
Hmm.
And so, but by far, like out of all of the Anytime Fitnesses I've been to, the Canyon Gym is the best,
Yeah, that one
hands down.
was legit, especially when
Yeah,
they added like the little turf area.
yeah, buddy. Go out there and do some deadlifts on that platform that we got. Oh,
Yeah, lots of fun.
yeah.
So, you do, are you preparing for any sort of competitions as far as like bodybuilding?
Yes, actually. So we are in discussion of me prepping for a show in November. And there's also a couple of shows happening in February.
Mm.
So, little inside look to that. The federations that you choose to compete in, they all have different regulations for what they deem as natural bodybuilding or enhanced bodybuilding, right? So, some natural federations say it's like, you can only have creatine and protein and BCAAs, like the basic supplements, right?
Mm.
And that's what we'll consider natural. So like they're like the straight edge community of bodybuilding, right? There's a couple of other natural federations that will allow for the use of some select forms of like pro hormones and uh, different anabolic supplements, right?
Mhm.
And they'll say, okay, well, these are just pro hormones. They're not taking any real like HGH. They're not shooting trend. They're not doing all that kind of stuff. And so what we're trying to find for me is what federation can I be most successful in, right? Uh, because I've been a natural bodybuilder this entire time, but it's like, well, if this one's going to give me a competitive edge and they're going to allow for the use of some select anabolic supplements, then I feel like I can probably get more out of my training that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the one we're looking at is an OCB federation, and they're based out of Florida. So it'd be nice to go see the East Coast because I've never been to the East Coast before. Um, Go get some good time out there, kind of make some waves in the bodybuilding community. But if that doesn't pan out, we're looking at sometime in February or March. But currently, I'm just in prep just to see how far my body will take me um, as it stands today. I went through the whole dad bod thing, which is really interesting because, everyone says you're going to gain some sympathy weight.
Hmm.
But I just recently learned that from over the evolution of humanity, right? We've been co parenting for that entire duration of time, right? There was a biochemist on the Joe Rogan podcast who was talking about there is what they think is a certain pheromone that the female will, you know, excrete. And whenever the male partner comes in contact with this pheromone, it induces a hormonal response so that you begin to gain more fat cells in preparation for the long sleepless nights of having an infant child.
Whoa.
So, yeah, yeah, fun fact, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's fun.
I was like, yeah, it's justified. I did put on, 15 pounds and now I don't feel so bad for it.
Yeah, as long as you're not, already an obese man before. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
It's like
fine.
I don't need an extra 15 on top of my 50 plus.
It's
But
interesting.
yeah,
So was that the podcast with like Brett Weinstein and another lady? Was it like a
no. So
one?
this no, it wasn't that one. It was man, I forgot his name, but he was talking about using all of these different natural supplements and herbs and spices and all this kind of stuff that's going to help men produce natural levels of testosterone. And that's why I started watching it. So I was like, oh, this is relevant to my field.
Mhm.
And then they started talking about that, and I was like, yes, preach, bro. Come on.
Testosterone.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I heard that um, doing heavy squats helps with testosterone in men. Is this a true story?
Yes. From what I've heard the same. Um, so since you're activating the biggest muscle in your body, your
Mhm.
quads and hamstrings, and doing a compound motion like that, your body starts to recognize, oh crap, we're under an insane load and volume in this exercise. So we need to start preparing the body to, um, number one, be efficient in the compound exercise that you're doing. But your body understands and starts prepping for the rebuilding of that tissue. And so that testosterone is needed in the rebuilding process, right? And so the body's a crazy thing. And so whenever it starts to recognize, oh crap, we're under like a huge amount of force, uh, we need to help supplement for that. It'll start. Your testes don't shrink. Actually, I think that they increase in size, and so you're getting bigger
Excellent.
balls at the same time of doing it.
That's the goal.
Yeah, so do your squats, man.
Yeah, I've just I haven't got a gym membership here yet. So I've just been working out on the patio with some dumbbells, but yeah,
There
I'll
you
get a
go.
membership soon.
Heck yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, have you been doing any type of uh, like calisthenics, or is it all just like some basic body weight stuff?
no, basic body weight stuff. I should be doing calisthenics. When I was doing jujitsu, I got really into like stretching, and it felt really
Yeah.
good.
Were you doing that
I,
over at the grind?
it was at Extreme Martial Arts. I wanted to go to the
Okay.
grind, but I didn't want to drive to Canyon. But I hear that one's great. But yeah, their whole thing is like just flexibility. And then the guy that like head master jujitsu guy
Yeah.
was saying that as far it helps with like longevity, like it keeps you young the more flexible you are.
Yeah.
And I was
Sure.
like, oh, that makes sense. That's good. I should do that.
Yeah. So did you dive in pretty heavy to the jujitsu like culture and everything?
Yeah, I did. I still love it. I haven't done it since I moved, since probably the end of July. Just because it's a big commitment to be like, I'm going to spend 150 a month, you know.
Right.
but
For sure.
and it's also like I wasn't doing it as much when like stuff started opening back up, just because I had comedy. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to quit my job so I can do jujitsu and comedy.
Yeah. For
But it's
sure.
awesome. It's a great thing if you have the time.
Yeah. I've been intrigued, and I've seen it looks like a lot of people are now starting to flock to this kind of um exercise routine, you know.
Mm,
Uh Seeing more and more and more of it just pop up from people that I know who started doing it, and they just fall in love with it. Why
yeah,
do you think that is?
it's good training for your mind as well as your body. It's all about leverage. So the guy who invented jujitsu, and I don't know if it's the Brazilian guy or the Japanese guy, maybe both, but the guy who invented jujitsu was like 130 pounds. And
Wow.
yeah, so he just learned how to use someone else's weight against them. So when you're doing jujitsu, you're not using any of your own body strength. And it's like you almost have to like rewire your brain. Like if you played combat sports or if you played football, you know, because it's
Yeah.
like, or wrestling, you're like, I'm going to use all my strength for this duration. And then in jujitsu, it's like I'm not going to use any of my strength. I'm going to use excellent technique, and I'm going to use their own body weight against them, their own like
Interesting.
energy. Yeah, it's
So
really awesome.
that's why you can see these guys out here doing, 2 or 3 hours worth of jujitsu, because they're
Hmm.
not just totally going balls to the wall that entire time.
Yeah, and you can tell who the new people are because they are going balls to the wall.
Yeah, for sure. No, that would be me. Like I don't know how to train my mind to do that.
Yeah,
That's
it's great, and yeah, and everyone's like super supportive, and helpful. And also, it's like an endless amount of moves you can do. Um, it's like it never ends. Like there's so many combinations. Like if a guy puts his leg here, here's what you do. If a guy puts his arm here, you can do this, and you can defend against that. And it's like a puzzle, an incredibly complicated puzzle.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to dive more into that. One of the biggest things holding me back, yeah, that is a huge financial commitment.
Hmm.
But B, it's like I don't know how well my knee would hold up after that, you know? Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so that is a lot of time on hands and knees and getting twisted up and
Hmm.
you know, I'd hate for something to snap the wrong way, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you just have to kind of be good at knowing when you've reached your limit. You just got to tap. I tap early because I'm like, I'm not going to break my arm practicing. So
Yeah,
if you get me in a compromising position, I'm gonna tap right away. This is practice. It's fine.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I don't have a whole lot of stake and pride in this practice round that we're going here.
No, not at all.
Yeah, yeah. I saw that the guy from the grind, he actually went on like a national level competition for jiu-jitsu and placed pretty well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh crap, that's from our small town in Canyon. That's a pretty big deal.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a really crazy thing to like witness. I watch videos all the time on Instagram, but it's cool because like originally it was Japanese and it wasn't like flashy at all. It was pretty like basic and humble. And then like
Yeah.
Brazilians got a hold of it and they made it like a spectacle. Like the Gracies, I'm sure you've heard of them. They
Yep.
would like go to like fairs and like do competitions and like roll with guys who were like 100 pounds more than them and like tap them out. It,
Ah,
it became
oh, that
like,
must have been humiliating.
yeah, they made it like entertaining basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's how they got the word out for that training.
Yeah, and that's why it's blown up the way it has. Well, that and like
Yeah.
UFC, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that though. Like we're gonna go to can you imagine like the tri-state fair just having some little Brazilian dude just go humiliate these big Texan guys?
Yeah, it'd be nuts. And that was like I actually went and watched. It's on YouTube. The very first UFC event where
Yeah.
it was they tried to set it up basically like Mortal Kombat, where like people from different parts of the world who have different like fighting styles will compete against each other.
Yeah.
And I forgot his name, whichever Gracie it was. He won the whole thing. He was just there in a gi, but there were so many like random people. Like there was a guy there with one boxing glove on. He came out with one boxing glove and thought he was going to win. And
He's like, I only throw right hooks. That's it.
yeah, it was
What the
definitely.
heck?
But the original point of it was to see like which fighting style is the best. Like we're gonna do jujitsu against this,
Okay.
is
Okay.
against that.
Almost give it like a little bit of a reality TV kind of vibe.
Yeah, and that was before like I think MMA was even a word because they were called like shoot fighters. I think is what they called it, and it was like Ken Shamrock is like one of the like original UFC dudes. He was in that competition. He made it to the very end, but he got tapped out. But yeah, it was crazy.
I need to
Crazy
go
to see
find
how
that.
far it's come.
So was it always owned and operated by Dana White?
No, I think he like bought it because there was a time period where it was just no rules and no weight classes, and
Yeah.
then once he like got a hold of it, he like changed it. I feel like he bought it like I don't know, late '90s, early 2000s, and that's when it like became a real like respected event as
Yeah. Yeah.
opposed to like some grimy thing that happens in alleyways, you know.
Right. Right. That reminds me of that episode off of Friends whenever John Favreau goes and becomes a UFC fighter. Did you ever watch Friends?
Yeah, I don't remember that specific episode.
Yeah, it's so funny to look back on that. You're like John Favreau, the guy who is one of the lead writers and producers for Marvel,
Hmm.
the most successful superhero, had one of his starting come up gigs in acting on Friends.
That is crazy. He's actually I've seen him in a lot of films, and I didn't realize it was him until like
Yeah.
recent.
I'm like, oh my God, you're the guy. Yeah, dude. I watched his show, Chef, the movie Chef.
Mm,
Great movie. Great movie. And it's like what for me that got it was It was Jon Favreau. But so he plays a chef, and he actually had a 5-star, 4 or 5-star chef teach him how to do everything properly. He was like, so whenever you make this movie, you have to do it right. So it was almost like method acting at the same time, you know.
Mm,
Uh, but yeah, the chef was like, if you don't do this right, you're gonna piss off a whole bunch of line cooks, and nobody's gonna like your movie.
that's cool. Did that just come out?
I think it came out like a while back. I think it was like 2013, and I just now
Mhm.
watched it. Yeah,
I don't think I've heard of it. That's cool though.
good though.
I feel like I see John Favreau in a lot of Vince Vaughn movies. I don't know if they're like best friends or maybe he's like directing the movie. I don't know.
Oh no, I'm
I
gonna have
always
to
see him
go.
in a Vince Vaughn film.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn. What a guy. What a guy. Dude, are you stoked at all about the new Spider-Man movie coming out?
Is this the one where they're combining all the Spider-Men from different universes?
Yeah, dog.
Maybe. I want to see what the storyline's going to be. I still haven't watched the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
You haven't?
So, no. Are they great?
Bro. I really liked them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it
I'll
was
still
like
be.
it, they were genuinely fun, you
Mhm.
know? It didn't feel like it was try hard or corny or anything like that. And, you know, Tom Holland's becoming more and more of like a respectable actor, you know. He's not
Mhm.
just, known for just being Peter Parker. He's branching out into a lot of other roles, and so that kind of gave me more respect for the film that way too. But no, they were fun.
That's
And
awesome.
Jake Gyllenhaal is like, Jake Gyllenhaal, and I'm pretty sure this guy has an Oscar. I think
He has to at
loves
some
him.
point.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
He
Jake
he
Gyllenhaal.
freaking loves Tom.
That's cool. No, Jake Gyllenhaal's like one of my favorite actors for sure.
Really?
Yeah, like I love that movie Donnie Darko.
Hmm.
Brokeback Mountain. Just kidding, I haven't seen that one. Um,
Some October Sky,
other movies he was in other movies that I liked where he was a boxer.
that Southpaw movie. Yeah.
Yeah, Southpaw was great.
Yep. Yep.
Good dude.
I think my favorite actor for like this season that I'm in, Tom Hardy, dude.
It's crazy. He's always been one of my favorites.
Really? Have you watched any of the Peaky Blinders series?
No, I saw you post about it. I need to get into that. I've seen
Oh,
like 1 or 2 episodes. I know it's really good.
it's insane, dude. It is wild and brutal, and it's like I part of me wishes that I could have lived back in the 30s
Mhm.
and lived in London just so I could be part of this crazy lifestyle that they had.
The first scene I saw is when the main character is like walking by and he's like, "No fighting," and he like tells it. He tells like 10 different guys in a row, like
Yep.
slaps him in the face.
Yep.
You know, this looks interesting.
Yeah, it's great, man. Cillian Murphy. Uh, he was in that movie 28 Days Later and 28
Mhm.
Weeks Later. He was the same actor. And he was in crap, what else?
28 Weeks
Batman.
Later might be my favorite zombie movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
It's great. It's really
I'm
good.
I'm really big into zombie movies, but I'm not big into horror movies. Can't do them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
I'm
good
I'm a little
balance.
boy whenever it comes to the horror movies. I don't mess.
Dude, a lot of horror movies just suck, and they just repeat the same tropes that are 100 years old.
Yeah, yeah. So, what if you had a favorite horror movie? What would it be? Like one with an actually decent storyline that can keep you entertained.
Dude, I know which one I like. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's they live in this house, and she has like this creepy little daughter who gets her head knocked off because she sticks it out of a car window. Um,
Oh,
what is that movie called? I don't know. Hold on, I'm gonna Google it.
I know which one you're talking about. And the son is the Antichrist.
No, the daughter ends up being the little antichrist at the very end. She like comes back to life. Um,
What? Oh,
what
I
is
didn't
it
know that.
called?
Hereditary. That's what it is.
Hereditary. That was,
Yeah, yeah.
as far as writing goes, I think that was one of the best horror movies I've ever seen because there weren't any corny jump scares. There was nothing that was like, oh, I've seen this in, another movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything was like original. Everything was surprising. Everything like genuinely shocked me.
Yeah.
I don't normally get scared from movies, but I really like that was really entertaining.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Did you ever watch Midsummer?
Midsummer, yes.
See, that one messed with me.
I'm pretty sure those films are made by the same people, if I'm
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
correctly.
Did you also know that that director is Jewish?
No, I didn't.
Straight up.
Could have guessed. No.
Yeah. Like, wow, dude. This kind of makes this a little worse for me.
The scene where they smash that old man's head in, it's
Yeah.
my favorite part.
Dude, it opens. Sorry for anybody who hasn't seen this film, but they do smash an old man's head in. Um, but it opens in the most brutal 15 minutes
Oh
of any
yeah,
film that I've ever seen.
that's true.
Dude, oh my God. And it like going into the 15 minutes, I was like, okay, my heart is already like
Mhm.
hurting for this family. Like, I don't know if I can make it through the rest of this movie. And then it just became this weird cult sensation overnight too. So
Yeah.
many people were like in love with that film.
And then after she like ingests whatever psychedelic they're drinking, the May Queen dance, and then she's just like tripping out. Like I almost felt like I was high watching that movie. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
the way things were moved, like just breathing.
Yep. Yep. I've never done any psychedelics, and I don't know if I could ever bring myself to do them, but I am very intrigued
Yeah.
by the use of psychedelics.
It will if you ever do them. That scene is like the most accurate depiction I've seen of like ingesting like mushrooms. Like
Is it really?
yeah, because like
Wow.
most movies and TV shows, they like try to make it visually high, but they
Yeah,
always
yeah.
miss. But I feel like Midsummer like hit the nail on the head.
Really
Yes.
intriguing. Okay.
Yeah.
There was a podcast that I recently ran into of Jordan Peterson talking to a guy who had never done any type of psychedelics in his life, but he went through and studied the use of different psychedelic drugs throughout the lens of religion. And
Mhm.
that was one of the most fascinating things I ever listened to. Plus, I mean, it's Jordan Peterson. Who doesn't like good old JP?
Yeah,
But
bomb.
yeah, but that entire thing blew my mind too. Like the Eucharist. Are you familiar with the theories going around with the Eucharist?
I think so. But
Yeah, yeah.
what is it? Go ahead.
So there's amanita mushroom that people think was being used in the making of the Eucharist. So
Mhm.
they don't think that Jesus used the mushroom in the wine, right? Uh, and in fact, studies have shown that most wine and alcohol and beer was actually lower in alcoholic content
Mhm.
the further back you go in history. It wasn't until just the past about 100 to 125 years that we actually started getting, the heavy hitting spirits. So you're only looking at like wine now is like what 15 to 16% alcohol. It's pretty far up there. But like back then, it was only like 5 or 6%. So what they would do was they would often mix in frankincense and this amanita mushroom, and those are both psychoactive ingredients. And so people think that like the apostles and everyone used to do this, and it affected the way that they spoke to people or
Mhm.
interpreted different encounters with spirituality and all that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. And so it was really, really fascinating. However, I would say if you are not strong in your faith and
Mhm.
uh, have a good grip on who you are and what you believe, it might be very challenging for you. So,
Sure, I can see that.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
also
But
heard that Santa Claus was based on like a shaman who was
oh,
uh,
for real?
who was like giving out magic mushrooms. Yeah,
That sounds fascinating.
yeah, and that's where the flying reindeer came in and everything because people were just tripping balls.
Was this dude dressed in like a red and white overcoat and
I don't know. I don't
big
remember
old massive
exactly like
beard?
the ancient depiction of him, but he was definitely big on the magic mushroom.
Golly. So much of your childhood just totally ruined right there, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Turns out it was just some old wackadoo wizard
Mhm.
putting out. So part of me is like, holy heck, how much of our past is just misconstrued and affected by psychoactive compounds?
That's a good question. It really is.
Yeah,
Because I feel like everything has a purpose. I think psychedelics like that. I mean, there has to be a purpose. God put them there.
right.
Um, but obviously, they can be abused and used for the wrong reasons. But
Totally.
it is interesting.
Yeah.
Growing up in a like a conservative place where it's like all drugs are bad. Don't ever touch this. Don't ever do that. And then
Yeah.
like, well, it's natural. So I don't know. There might be something more to it that's not necessarily evil, you know?
Yeah. Totally. And so like with the rapid legalization going on with marijuana right now, it's like eventually these conservative churches are going to have to address, hey, a lot of your congregation can now legally go get high
Mhm.
and they're not disobeying the law. They may not even feel convicted about it. It's like, so how do you address that from like a conservative plus like pastoral position? Do you treat it the same way as alcohol, which I think alcohol could be a lot more destructive in many ways, you
Yeah,
know?
that's a good
So
question. And I saw that a lot when, gay marriage is legalized. Um, some churches were like, hey, we're still against it. It's biblical. And other churches were like, we're going to appoint the same sex couple to our leadership council, whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll
yeah.
be interesting.
Yeah. And so a lot of people think, oh, it's gonna be like it's the one thread in the moral fabric that's just gonna like take everything else out. Is or not to say that the gay marriage thing is, but they say that about everything.
Mhm.
It could be alcohol, it could be, for the real strict Church of Christ people, it's like dancing or stringed instruments. That's going to be the thing that just totally unravels their fabric of existence. Uh, but it also depends on who you talk to, what denomination they're from, what was
Mhm.
their history with church. Um, were they raised in a small town? Were they raised in a big town? What was their home life like? So I don't know, man. It's a very interesting time and season, especially. Oh, we're gonna go here with this one with the new laws that were just passed for Texas.
Abortion laws.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you think about all this? If
See,
you feel free enough to share.
yeah, for sure. I've always been under the impression that we should kill as few babies as possible.
Yeah,
Um, but I completely understand if you're 16 years old, you get pregnant, I can't handle this, you're afraid, um, and you choose to get an abortion. I don't think that you should be reprimanded for that,
yeah,
which, you know, saying it out loud kind of contradicts what I said earlier. I don't think you should be punished for for getting an abortion, but I also don't think abortion should be encouraged the way there's a medium spot, and it's not black and white, and it's not like everyone should get abortions and we should all get 10 abortions, and it's also not like you should be in jail if you get an abortion. Um, and I also think it should be up to the states. So I think if Texas doesn't want to, I think that's fine. Um, if you really need an abortion, you can drive to any of our other wonderful states,
that's a good
Oklahoma, New
point. Yeah,
Mexico, Mexico. And it kind of sucks, because I see the point the women are making where it's like you're infringing on our rights. And I understand that completely. Um, and I'm never gonna be in a position where I'm like, you should or shouldn't do this with your life.
yeah,
Um, but I think it is a baby. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it is a baby. Um, I think we just need to be honest and open and have discussions as opposed to, being extreme one way or the other.
yeah, for sure. So I completely agree with you on so many points in what you just said. And being a newly founded father, it's like obviously I'm going to have a bias towards protecting my child's life, right? You know,
Hmm.
um, and protecting that infancy and that entire uh, pregnancy, right? So obviously I'm going to approach it from that position. Um, and I I do think that there are some very, very, very few circumstances where I can show true empathy and understanding and being like, yes, of course, I 100% agree. I don't necessarily agree with the entire model of Planned Parenthood.
Hmm.
I don't think that's beneficial to society and to the way that a lot of young women are seeing sex and sexual activity. Um, but also, I think that there are a lot of other opportunities that we have now to come up with positive solutions and be like, okay, so if abortion is now illegal in the states after 9 weeks, right, or illegal in Texas after 9 weeks, well, what can we do to further discourage sexual abuse, rape, that kind of stuff? Increasing the uh, punishment from the government. And so my brother sent this to me just jokingly. It was a meme. And I think it was a proposed bill where if someone had committed a sexual abuse crime with a minor, there would be a warrant put out for their arrest, but also a reward of $10,000 for whoever brought them in uh, for their hearing in court. And so he was like, bro, we could quit our day jobs and just go hunt down sexual offenders,
Yeah.
like split
Pedophile bounty.
5K a piece. Yeah, yeah. So I think something like that would be really beneficial where it's like,
Absolutely. Because they're
yeah,
doing that. Somebody proposed that in Texas where like if you know someone who's about to get an abortion, you can tell on them for $10,000. But like the pedophile thing's way better. Like
yeah, yeah, dude, yeah. Pedophile thing's way better because it's like, okay, this person is going around raping children. It's like, yeah, I feel no remorse for that.
no, not at all.
Not at all.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, with legalizing abortion, making abortion illegal, it's like we we also have to have some sort of like moral value before it gets to that point to where it's like, okay, how do we fix this teen pregnancy issue? How do we fix it before they're pregnant? You know, um, and that's the real solution. Before is fixing it before it's a problem.
Yeah. And
Before you have an unintentional pregnancy.
totally. And the obvious answer to all of the Judeo Christian community is like, abstinence and safe sex, right?
Mm.
That's what they're pushing is being taught, right? But what I'm finding is that like a ton of people just really despise the Judeo-Christian moral values. Like
Yeah.
that just does not bode well with so many people.
Hmm.
And I get it. It's like as soon as that stuff gets suggested, it's like, no, but I don't want to do that. Like, okay, well, now we have to make alternatives just because you don't want to do the thing that is proven to be safe and probably best for your overall outcome. But obviously, I'm biased. I'm a freaking youth director.
Hmm.
I don't want all my kids that I'm coming in here having, encounters with and talking about God and their spirituality. I don't want them to be going out, you know, doing gangbangs and all this kind of stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
That's pretty obvious. But so I have this line that I'm having to toe as like uh, an American man expressing my opinion, but also knowing that there's a responsibility that I have for some of these kids. It's like if any of these kids ever saw what I was saying and if it was misinterpreted the wrong way, I would be held accountable.
Mm. Yeah, that's it's a little scary,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah.
don't think, well, I don't know if scary is the right word. It just adds like an extra weight of responsibility,
Mhm.
you know?
For sure. But yeah, the traditional values are out as far as these young kids are concerned. It's
Totally.
all Marxism, socialism.
Yeah, dude.
You don't need to have a family. Uh, the government will be your family.
Yeah. Big Papa Joe will be your daddy. Yeah. Anyways,
Crazy. Yeah.
that's my political spiel. What do you think about the new gun law too?
Concealed carry. Is that what you're referring to, or is there something else?
So that's the main one, right?
Hmm.
Everybody can now constitutionally carry a weapon.
Hmm. I think
What
that's
do you
great. I was
really? Okay.
Yeah, I was actually talking to someone about it, my girlfriend's brother-in-law, and I was like, dude, Texas just passed a law. We can constitutionally carry. And he's like, I live in Kansas. We've been doing this the whole time. And I was like, oh, I
Oh,
thought it was like a cool new thing.
that
Apparently,
was like this
like
groundbreaking deal. Yeah.
there's a handful of other states that have been doing this forever. So it's
Yeah.
like it's not a huge deal. I mean, I think the biggest risk is like people being untrained and then doing that. Um,
Yeah.
obviously, you should still know how to use your gun before you carry it to Walmart. But
Totally.
I think overall it's a good thing. Um, yeah, because you don't, have to spend a bunch of money. I guess. I mean, it wouldn't make a huge difference because I feel like most people who want to carry were willing to pay in the first place and get trained.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's an overall positive. I'd like to think.
Yeah.
I guess it
For sure.
depends on individuals and their mental health.
Totally. Totally. So the mental health thing is a big one, right?
Hmm.
Like if this person has access to carry a semi-automatic firearm at all times constitutionally, right? What's to say this person can't go into a church or wherever? But I think there's still like some pretty decent regulations in place too, like
Hmm.
the 30-06 and the 30-7 orders. Are you familiar with those?
Yes. No,
Yeah,
wait.
yeah. So
No, go ahead. I forgot what they were.
so the 30-06 order is basically says that if a company sells alcohol, if over 49% of their revenue comes from alcohol consumption, you cannot carry a firearm into that premises,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like those regulations are set out to protect people,
Hmm.
right? Um, but you start getting into like this really sticky territory. It's like, should everybody be able to carry a weapon,
Hmm.
or just the people who are mentally stable? And how do you determine if someone's mentally stable,
Yeah,
right?
because then that can be like, oh well, based on how you voted in 2020, you're not allowed to carry a gun.
Exactly. Or based on this mean thing that you said on Facebook about COVID vaccine, you can't carry a gun,
Mm.
you know. So I think that going ahead and setting it like, hey, everyone in the state of Texas can carry is far better than allowing the federal government to go in and start doing this, mental health audit, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
because my thread is full of what some people might consider really mean memes
Hmm.
because I like freedoms.
For sure, man. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the idea of a universal background check is scary. Anything with universal in front of it, I'm immediately like, I don't want to do
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah,
I don't like those. I don't like those ideas.
yeah. There was another proposed bill of whoever has, if you have more than $600 in your bank account, that every transaction that you make, withdrawal or a deposit, has to be monitored and reported to the IRS.
Yeah, that's complete trash. I saw that. That was passed by the Biden administration, right? I don't know how that works, but yeah, I saw that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and what they're trying to say is that, like, oh, a bunch of people are getting side hustles. Everyone through COVID started figuring out new ways to make money. Venmo, Cash App,
Hmm.
Facebook Marketplace, all these places that don't report any type of transactions. They're going to be like, oh, this is just another level of us being able to check off, how many people are actually paying federal income taxes,
Hmm.
right? So, but it seems a lot more malicious than just that.
It is
It's like
absolutely like
you're
how
looking
much
at
money
all of
we
my
spent,
transactions.
how much money
Yeah,
the government spent for COVID, and it's like, do you really need more money? Like, this is what
right,
you
right.
don't do anything with it that helps
Yeah,
us. We
yeah,
don't benefit from our taxes. Um,
yep,
99% of us don't. I don't know. I
yeah,
think
dude.
I'm very libertarian when it comes to that. I think IRS is garbage. I think we could
Yeah,
do away with it completely,
100%.
and we could still fix the roads without without
Yeah.
the IRS.
Oh, public transportation crap. We'll just make another private company and have them do it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, have the county pay for it.
absolutely.
Come on, man. See, this is why we need a Matt Viegas for governor.
We do.
Yeah,
I would vote for Crenshaw if he were to like ever run for president. He seems like a good dude.
yeah. His I saw one thing that I didn't totally agree with him, but also he's coming at it from the perspective of a retired Navy SEAL, right?
Mhm.
It was like, I don't think an 18-year-old kid needs to have an assault rifle of any type, you know?
Mhm. Oh, that was his perspective.
Yeah. 'Cause he was like, I've seen kids work in the Taliban, 16-year-old kids with AKs and whatever shoot at me.
Hmm.
I was like, that's a valid point, but, you know, that's also an infringement in my book,
Yeah, yeah.
but I didn't write the laws and I'm not a politician. So, you know, but
Interesting. I didn't hear him say that.
yeah, yeah. But overall, the dude does have some really good material out there that is more right leaning, conservative values
Yeah,
um, that I appreciate. Did you read his book at all?
I did not.
Fantastic book, man. If you can get that thing on Audible, oh, great stuff. He talks about his SEAL training, how he lost his eye, how he started running in politics and all that kind of stuff. Really good stuff.
That is cool. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. They said that after he um, lost his eye, right, he had to, I think he had to lie face down for 3 months just because of how the surgery went. It's like if he would have laid on his back, it would have corrupted some of the surgery work that they put in his orbital socket.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I saw he like made a post several months ago about how he was taking a break from social media because he couldn't see out of his eye. I was worried he might go blind, but I think he's back, so he's good. I don't remember what was happening exactly.
Interesting. Weird stuff, man. Weird stuff. We live in some crazy times.
For sure, man.
Crazy times, man. But it makes life more interesting. You got stuff to talk about
That's
24/7.
true. A lot of
The
things.
podcast age is booming from here on out.
For sure, yeah. Have you received a I was going to say vaccine. Have you received the sickness of COVID yet?
Have I been down with the sickness?
Yes.
I believe that I have. So I went and I got tested one time, and they said came back positive, but we think it's going to be a false positive, right? I
That's
was
what they
like,
said.
that's literally what they said.
Whoa. We don't even
They
believe
said
ourselves.
we don't even believe ourselves, especially at these. It was a little health clinic here in
Oh,
June,
yeah.
right? And so it's like everyone here was already a huge skeptic from the get go, and so they were like, "Yeah, it might be a false positive. We're not really sure. We suggest you quarantine for 10 days just in case." So I called my boss and I was like, "Hey, here's the download. Like, what do I need to do?" And he was like, "If you feel fine and you're not running a fever, I say you're okay." So after that first day, I was good to go. Then I got sick a second time, and this second time it took me like 2 or 3 days to get over. Fever, cough, runny nose, headache.
Hmm.
And so those are my symptoms. I didn't go and get tested because I used to have really, really bad strep throat all the time. And this felt almost exactly like that, right? Minus the headache. I never got a headache before whenever I had strep throat. And so I didn't go and get tested. I kicked it in, like I said, like 3 days. And then I was fine. But then after everyone was like, "Oh yeah, this new variant looks a lot like strep," I was like, "Oh, that may have been it." So I don't know. I think I may have gotten it, but it's currently hitting. It hit my family out there in Canyon just a couple weeks ago, big time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole symptoms of like getting the loss of taste and smell, all the OG symptoms. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can't say for sure, but I can speculate.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. What about you?
Scary stuff. I've had it. I had it back in December, and I tested positive. I was sick for about 4 days. Got over it pretty quick, and then my girlfriend got it. I want to say it was in like March or April.
Okay.
Yeah, around April, and she was coughing a lot, and then I had like some congestion and everything, and I was coughing too. So she tested positive. I went to the doctor. Doctor was like, "You're negative. You have bronchitis." And he was like, "Well,
Oh,
if you had it back in December, you probably still have the antibodies." So I was like, "Awesome, cool." So she got pretty sick. And then she went to the ER, and they gave her a bunch of random drugs, and her body responded really negatively to the drugs. Like she got really swollen. She was retaining water. She
Oh,
couldn't
dang.
sleep. She was having acid reflux, so she didn't sleep for like 4 days, and she started hallucinating a little bit. It was crazy. Like they gave her way too many drugs, just to be like,
Golly.
this should cover everything, you know. But yeah, she got over all that. The medication was worse than the COVID, honestly. I think
Oh,
if she would have just set it out, she probably would have just felt better. But
yeah.
we went to the ER and they were just like, let's give you 5 random things. And but yeah, she got over it. Our whole family's vaccinated, so they encouraged her to get vaccinated. She just got her. I guess she got the Moderna. I don't know, but she's got another month to get another one. I said I wouldn't do it, but I've seen some. She has a family member who had to get on the ventilator, and then a friend, Giovanni, he got hospitalized. Um, and so I've been kind of like going back and forth on if I should, if I shouldn't. But I'm still leaning towards no because I don't. There's so much misinformation, and our media channels are lying to protect us, and that
Yeah.
seems really weird to me.
Yeah.
And then the governor of Mexico is forcing vaccinations on the citizens, or I don't know if it's the governor, what do you call them, president, whatever. But yeah, he's forcing vaccinations on all the population there, and it's like you never cared about your citizens before, so why all of a sudden is it a thing now? You know,
Right.
is it all a
Right.
money grab? Is it all something else? I don't know, but I don't like the way it's being presented. If
Yeah.
all this hype wasn't around it, I would have already gotten vaccinated. You know, but
Totally. Yeah.
it's weird. It's too
Yeah.
weird.
And man, so it sounds like she got like adverse effects from all the stuff that they started helping her with. That sounds
Yeah,
terrible. So
it was,
like
it
was
was
it like
awful.
the Russian sleep experiment where she starts hallucinating in that way?
Yeah, basically, she said she wasn't able to sleep at night because it was like burning in her throat. She didn't realize it was acid reflux until she went to the doctor, and she was like, "Oh, this is a side effect of the pills you're taking." But she
Golly.
said she like heard a voice that wasn't there, and she was wide awake. She's like, "I wasn't dreaming," and then I was like, "All right, let's go back to the emergency room." And instead of going to like the BSA ER, we went to like one of the little standalone ERs, and they fixed her up like immediately. They gave her like this. They injected her with a few things, and she felt better. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a
They
crazy
give
time.
her any ivermectin.
I think they did originally. Yeah, that was one of the
Hey, really? Oh my God.
one of the things she took. It was ivermectin. I remember.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were talking about misinformation, and I was under the impression for the longest time that there were two different types of ivermectin, and that there was like an FDA regulated that you get for human
Hmm.
consumption, and then there was a separate type that was for horses. I didn't know it was the same type, and it was like just regulated by your body weight,
Hmm.
right? And so I got into like this really heated discussion with my brother about it. He's like, "So you're telling me I'm gonna die from taking horse toothpaste or whatever is what he kept calling it?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't know, dude. Like, I just don't want you taking all this crap if you haven't done the research." Well, turns out it was an article that had been recently taken down saying that there were two different types and all these people are gonna die because they're taking the horse type, right?
Mhm.
So it really sucks whenever you try and go and educate yourself and you're just getting some piece of crap article that is in no way factual.
Hmm.
And then you take this and you present this in an argument amongst your peers, and they're like, "No, you're freaking retarded. What are you talking about?" You know? Like,
Hmm.
well, I read off of here, and it turns out, that was some falsified information.
I didn't know they were the same thing either because I know it was created in the 70s and it was used for a number of things on humans this whole time, and it
Yep.
was FDA approved for several other things that didn't include you know virology or whatever
Right.
viruses. Um, but yeah, I thought they might have been separate, but I mean it makes sense if they're not because you can use a ton of different drugs on different types of humans and animals and
Yeah. Like
adverse effects.
Advil and ibuprofen for dogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like our dog, I can't remember what his issue was. I think it was just, his hips because he's getting older, starting to get some hip dysplasia, showing signs of that. So yeah, the doctor was like, Tylenol, Advil. Just stick it in his food, crush it up in his water or something like that. And I was like,
You
are
were
you
like,
kidding me?
no,
Yeah.
that's for humans, doctor.
Are you stupid? You trying to kill my dog?
Go on Facebook and shame you.
Yeah, for real. Facebook is the most toxic place to go present your standing in any type of political issue.
Yeah. And everyone went out to like attack Joe Rogan. But the whole point was that he got better. Why?
Yeah, it's like, I got better in 2 days, you jackass. What are you talking about?
He's so stupid. He should just get the vaccine.
Yeah. No, and he was talking on that podcast too. He was like, people were wishing that I got more sick, like showed more symptoms than I already did, you know?
Absolutely.
I was like, yep, that about sums up the not it's almost like a cruelty in our civilization right now. It's like, yes, we want you to suffer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when Trump got COVID, everyone was like, "I hope he does," and he got better in like 3 days.
Yeah.
Probably did the same cocktail of things.
Probably.
But that's the other thing too, is like, instead of shaming them, why don't we like break down what they're doing and encourage other people to do that? You know, like, why is it vaccine or
70, die? Yeah, for real. If it's like, oh, our elderly population is so at risk of, you know, mortality with this disease, you've got a 70-something-year-old president who eats cheeseburgers every day, and he kicked it. Like, take whatever this guy did and start throwing it into the nursing home.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I have another theory on here. So, you know how Cuomo got he didn't get convicted, right? He hasn't been tried, but he was accused of allegedly having sexual misconduct with these women, right? I was like, wow,
like, it's not my fault. I'm Italian, you know?
I'm Italian. Yeah, this is how I am. It's in my culture. Yeah. Well, I was like, it's very interesting that this is happening right as people are starting to move forward with the investigation into the nursing home, you know? I was like, it sounds like the guy's, he's getting off pretty easy is what it sounds like.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Yeah, because the nursing home thing was a big deal that we kind of just swept under the rug.
Yep.
Who?
Yeah. I feel like we need to be like Denmark and the Netherlands. Herd immunity. But I mean, that's pretty easy whenever your entire country is the same population of Austin, Texas, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And then you see things like, I feel like Israel is like 80% vaccinated and they're still spiking. There's a state in America, I think it's Vermont maybe, or New Hampshire, one of those states that nobody cares about. They're like 77% vaccinated and they're still spiking.
What the heck, man?
Like, yeah, it's like we still don't even know how well this virus works or how well this vaccine works.
Yeah.
And there's new variants every day. Like this one vaccine probably doesn't work on this one. And then they release booster shots and then they're like, well, we don't officially know if the booster shots work, but you should still get them.
Get the coin toss. Just yell. Who's in charge? It's like, who's going into these, you know, big, massive drug companies and being like, well, we got another one. So we're just going to add steroids to this next one. Should be fine.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with being like, hey, you know what? I appreciate that you rolled out a vaccine, but I'm going to wait to see what the side effects are before I do something. Right, you shouldn't be shamed for that. You should be allowed to go shopping if you want. Like it's weird. It's weird stuff.
Yeah. Really weird stuff. And so like going off of like the whole shot deal, there was a joke that I found on TikTok. Are you on TikTok?
No, but I should probably. I see so many TikToks every day that people send.
You should get on TikTok strictly for your comedy career because I feel like you would be able to get so much authentic material from that stupid app.
Yeah, I need to replace TikTok with Twitter because I feel like Twitter is just toxic for me, and I don't even tweet anymore. I just see things that are horrible, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, okay. Faith in humanity is diminished a little bit.
Yeah.
No, but TikTok has become this. It's really weird, whatever, because like your algorithm is so different and it's so unique based on whatever you like, right? Because their artificial intelligence has gotten crazy over the past year. But your algorithm, you know, it's going to send you a whole bunch of content that the app thinks that you'll like, right? And so I've got like a bunch of gym stuff on there, a bunch of like conservative libertarian political stuff on there. Uh but I've got a friend who's very liberal and has different likes and dislikes and all that kind of stuff. And he'll get like a totally different feed, you know. It's not like Facebook or whatever to where you're gonna get and you're gonna see the same material together, you
Mhm.
know, totally different stuff. And so in that way, I kind of appreciate TikTok for what it's worth. Like, oh, this is just content that I want to see, and I
Yeah,
enjoy
that's
that.
great. That's
Yeah,
my favorite thing about Instagram. I think is what Instagram does really well is that it doesn't show you stuff you don't want to see.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, Facebook still does that. So yeah, Instagram and TikTok, those will be my two. I'm gonna have to get TikTok eventually.
You're gonna have to, man. I'm
Yeah.
gonna send you so much funny stuff on there. Oh, it's fantastic. But anyways, yeah. So now that you're in Austin, Texas, how does this compare to Amarillo in just like the community feeling? You know, is there like this closed-minded conservative? Is that veil just like totally lifted now?
Um, yeah, basically. I mean, this is such a big place, and there's so many people here, and I don't know. I like everything in Austin is better than Amarillo. Like everything is just awesome. Like you can go. There's a creek 20 minutes from my house. I can go swim in a creek every day if I want. You know, and there's like
Nice.
3 or 4 lakes surrounding this area that you can go hiking. It's just endless amount of things. There's a billion food trucks. You can do anything you want here. It's hard to compare it to the community of Amarillo because I'm from Amarillo and I know everyone there.
Right.
Um, so I would say that community is probably closer, but the comedy community here is awesome. Bunch of cool people. They're supportive. They like to hang out. I don't really see like any like egos getting in the way. There probably are, but
Yeah.
um, everyone here seems really supportive and open minded. And it's just
Do
it's
do you see like any celebrity superstars? Have you had any encounters with any of the Austin megastars that live out there?
no, not like McConaughey or Joe Rogan or anything. I did get to meet a guy named Tony Hinchcliffe, who's a fairly famous comedian. I
Nice.
was on his podcast, Kill Tony, where they do like it's an open mic, so they let you sign up and they draw names out of a hat, and if you get pulled up, you do a minute of comedy, and then they interview you. So that was really cool.
Okay.
And another comedian named Kyle Dunnigan was there, and you should follow him on Instagram if you haven't heard of him. He's so
Okay.
funny. He's famous for like doing like face swaps. So he has he has an Instagram show called like uh I can't remember the name of it, Fresh Prince of something. It's like it's mimicking Fresh Prince of Bel Air, except he's playing Joe Biden. And he's always like, and then he does Ben Shapiro, he does AOC. He's
I
super funny.
yeah, I'd seen the one of him doing Ben Shapiro. I just looked him up. I was like, I recognize this guy.
He does a really mean like Caitlyn Jenner too. He's awesome. He's one of like he's the funniest guy on Instagram, hands down.
Nice. Okay, cool. I'll
But yeah,
follow him.
both of those guys were there, so that was really cool. That was a big moment for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the people I met that there's like comedians I know or that I like got to see who are like famous to me, but like if you're not kind of like into this community like I am, you're gonna be like, who's that guy? You know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. I feel like that's the way it is with like a whole bunch of different uh, you know, circles of different interests and hobbies. Like I feel like I could probably say the same thing about a metal drummer that I
hmm
saw on the street. Like, who the
Yeah.
heck is that guy? Yeah.
And I'm like seeing this person and I'm like geeking out, but like everyone else is just like, this is a regular dude. What do you
Yeah.
and even
Yeah.
he's like a regular dude and I'm over here like I'm nervous to talk to him. It's
Do
funny.
you get that way? Do you
I do
still like
sometimes. Where it's
interesting?
like if I see someone who I really respect and I'm like, should I go talk to him? No, I don't want to be that guy who's like, hey, I really like your stuff. I don't want to be that corny dude. So I just ignore
Right,
them.
right. Interesting. I
Uh,
figured that like doing stand-up comedy would help kind of eradicate this kind of a uh, fear, or not like a fear, but like a nervousness of like talking to people.
nah, it's a weird nervousness that's just like a one-on-one nervousness as like because it's easier for me to like go in front of 500 people than to just talk to this one guy I'm nervous about talking to, which is weird. It is weird.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It's a weird form
Yeah,
of anxiety.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Man, that's so awesome though that you're because these are all opportunities that you never would have had in Amarillo. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is
So,
exactly what I wanted. It's great.
yeah. So, do you project uh, a Netflix special for Matt Viegas happening anytime soon? When's that dropping?
Well, the from what I'm seeing in the comedy world, it takes about 10 years to get good.
Okay,
Um, so I've got about 6 years left.
nice.
But what's happening right now in the landscape could be totally different by the time
Totally,
I'm 10 years in. But most
totally.
comics, most really good comics, are not even going to Netflix. They're going straight to YouTube, and
Oh,
they're hitting millions of people, and I think that's the way to go right now. There's this really funny guy, best special I've seen in a while. I've never even watched his stand up before, but it's Shane Gillis. He was kicked off of SNL for making
okay.
hate jokes, so he got kind of famous for getting kicked off of SNL, and he just dropped a special on YouTube. One of the funniest specials I've seen in a long time. He's hilarious, and he
Okay.
recorded it here in Austin, so it was really
Okay. Nice.
yeah.
Heck yeah. I just looked him up on here too. I don't think I've ever recognized this guy before.
But yeah,
Oh, look at him. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast too.
yeah, he was, and because he was canceled, I mean, he probably that's probably part of the reason he couldn't get on Netflix or whatever. But it seems like
For
people are getting more traction from YouTube than Netflix right now, so it's kind of moving
sure.
in that direction of just I'm just going to release my stuff for free,
Yeah.
and people are going to
Do you
respond.
think that's just because like YouTube is still kind of like the wild, wild west, whatever content creation, not as many regulations and you know bureaucracy behind all of it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've heard that Netflix is pretty good about like letting comedians do what they want with their specials, but they've also like got a limit on what they can do, and you know, so
Yeah.
YouTube is just there for everybody. And that's another thing is like when you're on Netflix, there's like a billion things that you could watch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just really fragmented.
Yeah. Man, I did not watch Netflix for the longest time after that whole issue of like child nudity came out.
Oh, I forgot about that. What was that called?
Yeah.
It was
I
like
can't
little
remember.
girls dancing and all sexually and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it won
And I
like an
was like,
award in France,
of
and
course it did. Of course it did with the French.
and the director was also like accused of like sexual assault. It was weird. I don't remember the whole thing.
Yeah. Yes, dude. And
That
they're
was
like, yeah, this is fine. We'll
that was
throw
a
this up.
crazy moment. That was
Yeah.
yeah, it was. But it was. I think everyone across the board was just like, yeah, this is weird. Like nobody. I don't remember anyone really defending it.
I
Um,
don't either.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was
So
gross.
after that moment, I was like, maybe not Netflix. And then I couldn't find Peaky Blinders anywhere else. And so I was like, okay.
Pretty sure Netflix took it down after that. I could be wrong, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they responded well.
Do you think,
Properly.
okay, so do you think in your line of work of being a stand up comedian, how do you prevent being canceled?
You just don't care. That's it. You just don't care. Don't apologize. Just ignore them.
Perfect.
They'll go away. Like,
Nice.
if you noticed the comedians who don't get canceled, they just never responded. Like Joe Rogan hasn't been canceled because he never responded. Dave Chappelle hasn't been canceled because he doesn't care. He's like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do to me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they
For
canceled
sure.
Louis C.K., but he still made a special. He's still working.
Yeah.
Um, they canceled Shane Gillis, but he just dropped a special. So it's
Yep.
just like the worst thing you can do is make a public apology, in my opinion. Make a
Sure.
public apology you don't mean.
For sure.
Um, but it's also like the gatekeepers aren't really gatekeepers anymore. You know, like they can say, oh, you're not going to be on our TV show. Say, okay, I'll go make a TV show. What do you?
Yeah. Yeah. For
It's
sure.
not a big deal. It's not like it used to be to where it's like I need these people to get on a late show so I can sell tickets. So you don't need that. All you have to do is make a podcast. I mean, obviously a bigger podcast than mine, but the tools are all here. So no one's if somebody cancels you, you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. you can be canceled for any number of reasons. You could be canceled from. Well, here's the other thing. It's like I see an astounding amount of all of the very radical left leaning people. They're the ones that are quick to cancel.
Mhm.
Most conservatives are just like, he's got his own opinion, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and then when conservatives try to cancel people, it lasts for like 2 days, and they're like, I don't care anymore.
Whatever, dude. You
That's
silly goober. Go on.
just what happens. It's different from like comedians and like people who are on like TV shows, or
Yeah,
people
yeah,
who actors and actresses, because they depend on those people for their money. So
totally.
that's why so many actresses are like so outspoken. So many actors are so outspoken. It's because they have to have that opinion if they want to get booked for
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
show. They have to appeal to like these elites, and
yeah.
comedians. Um, they don't have to appeal to anybody but their fans. And even if they do go over the line, they still have those hardcore fans who are like, "We're with you. That was funny. We're gonna, we still
Right,
support you.
right.
Still support you going crazy."
Yeah, yeah. So like, in 1984, where they talk about like the 2 minutes of hate,
Hmm.
where each person in 1984 is allotted this time frame to just express the deepest, rawest, most vulgar emotion that they have, you know? I see a lot of resemblance on that of that in our like social media platforms,
Hmm.
you know? And
Interesting.
so it makes you wonder, it's like, why are so many emotions amplified? Like people are overly excited all the time, or just like deeply, deeply depressed and suicidal, or like it doesn't seem like there's a very consistent line and basis of equilibrium with a lot of people. You
Hmm.
know, it's like they're always pissed, or they're always sad, or they're always mad. Do you think it's just because in the day and age that we live that there's just so much at stake on the virtual world of everything? It's like that's where your dependency lies.
Yeah, I don't. Social media isn't real, and it's at the end of the day, it's not. Like it's no one is gonna care in 100 years what we tweeted. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's
Right.
not, and we put so much stake into this thing that
Right.
really doesn't truly affect our life. I mean, it affects our minds. It affects us
Yeah. Yeah.
psychologically a lot because it's like an addiction. It's like gambling. But uh, yeah, it's so stupid how much weight we hold up to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that. It's
Yeah.
it's so pointless. And I mean, I don't know. People will get on the internet just to complain.
Yep.
And then if you meet them in person, like people will be super radical. I've met so many radical leftist people just in Amarillo, and then you
Yep.
see them in person, a regular dude,
Yeah.
just regular guy. You probably agree with him on most things, but when he's on Facebook, it's like, I got to talk like this. I got. What are you doing? You're just trying to get attention. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. There's a couple of guys that I know, one in particular, who will just go troll social media from like a really liberal standpoint. And he's a fantastic, like amazing musician. And so anytime he and I play music together, it's like we're vibing, we're clicking. It's like
Mhm.
everything's cool. That's the common ground that he and I have. But whenever it comes to social media, he's out here just like totally dunking on Christian culture and like all this different stuff. And I think it's hilarious the juxtaposition with
Yeah,
those like behaviors, you
because
know?
he would never do that in real life. He would never just go up to like someone who's like a pastor or something and be like, "All your
No,
beliefs are
no,
stupid. You're
yeah,
trash. I hate your
no,
church." Like that's not real. That's not.
yeah, yeah. That kind of behavior though. So what I've noticed is like I will say some of those same things that like you just said, I may not say that in private, but I might have those discussions with really close friends of mine that I trust, you know? So it's like there's that inner circle of like trust and privacy, but now it's like we take that same content that we would usually speak about in an inner circle, and now it's just blasted on the internet, you
Yeah,
know?
and
That's a weird thought.
I used to get on social media and get in these ridiculous debates and be like, "This is what I believe. I'm going to post an article," and
Oh yeah.
it's so it just doesn't lead anywhere. It doesn't change anyone's mind.
Yeah.
And also, the older I get, the more I realize, like, hey, you don't have to have an opinion. You know what? Like, you can see something and just scroll past it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have
Totally.
to have an input.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best thing as far as growth and like mental health for me is like, you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what the Taliban is doing. I really don't. Sometimes I know you're like supposed to care about big things in the world, but also we weren't designed to know everything that's happening in the world. You know, we weren't
Absolutely.
designed to have all the world's problems on our shoulders. We were designed to be part of a tribe, part of a group, and take care of our people. And
Yep.
that's at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah. The last like real big Facebook fire that I got into was I think that you actually chimed in on this one. I had said, "Hey, does anybody think that the trace amounts of fentanyl in oh god, I just forgot his name. In the guy who got you know,
Mac
he had
Miller?
the officer. No, no, no. He had the officer's knee on his neck and he couldn't breathe.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
George Floyd.
Floyd.
George Floyd. Sorry. I was like, do y'all think that the trace amounts of fentanyl in this man's system contributed to his cause of death?
Hmm.
And that was it. It was just posing a question. And
Yeah,
I about got crucified on Facebook for posting.
yeah,
And so many people coming on calling me a racist, different stuff like this, saying like, I'm a I'm a pig, just like all these cops and everything. I was like, oh, okay, so this is the culture that we're dealing with right now.
yeah. I mean, that
So
you're acting off emotion and you don't really care what the facts are.
right, right. And so that was whenever I saw it like big time. It's like this is not a safe place to start these kinds of
Yeah,
conversations. I
and
cannot have
that wasn't a bad or evil question. It was just a regular
right,
question.
right. But it was like after that, quickly after that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to get into any more of those nonsensical Facebook arguments. Then I became a youth director and I was like, now I have a responsibility. If any of these kids that I was like helping grow in their faith, if they ever saw me engaging in that kind of behavior on Facebook, it's like all credibility and respect that they have for me out the window
Yeah.
immediately. And then I'm just thrown into that same kind of uh lump with all the other pastors. It's like, oh, this dude doesn't practice what he preaches. He's just a
Hmm.
hypocrite. He's a piece of trash. So
For sure.
after that, I was like,
See
you
that.
know what? I'm not gonna give people the time of day.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, if you watch the whole thing, he was fairly high. He was not cooperating. I mean, and this
Yep.
isn't like he deserved to die type thing, but
No, 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 not at all.
there's
Not
definitely
at all.
some other factors at play.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
They couldn't even get him in the car. Like it's
And he
crazy.
was a big dude. He was a big dude.
Yeah, he was huge.
I know that if I were an officer trying to get that man in the car, I would have struggled. There is no way that I could have successfully done that.
No, no.
So not to say that yeah, the proper force uh displayed on him was the way to go. Um, but that guy, he was a big guy. He was not cooperative, and you could tell he was geeking on something.
Yeah, he definitely was. Like I feel like I don't remember the exact details, but like he had like just ingested some drugs like within less than an hour before
Yeah,
because
it wasn't like
he was like passed out in his car when they like found him. I think
oh he was
maybe I'm wrong because yeah, I think like he tried to do the counterfeit bill and then they called the cops, so he like left and they just found him like passed out somewhere.
golly.
Horrible
See now,
situation.
yeah, it's like now the landscape has finally calmed down where we can actually talk about this stuff now, and people aren't going to jump down our throats about it. But it happened so long ago now that it's irrelevant and people don't really care.
Mm. Yeah, did you see that mural they had of George Floyd that got hit by a lightning bolt?
Yeah, I got struck by lightning.
I don't know what to think about that. I
I don't either. The whole thing was burnt. I was like, oh, someone had thoughts about this.
don't know. That is nuts.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what to think about that either. It was like Thor got pissed or God got pissed. Either way.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Bro, are you into like any of the video game culture right now too?
No, I'm not. I sold my my Xbox One a couple years ago. I haven't reinvested yet. I told myself I was going to get a console for the next Grand Theft Auto. Maybe, I don't know yet.
They just released the new trailer for God of War Ragnarok.
What?
Yeah, dude.
They
Yeah.
combined God of War with Thor? Is Thor involved in that?
Well, it's all Greek mythology. Yeah.
Okay. So
And so,
does he ever fight Thor in God of War?
yeah, dude.
That's insane.
That's what this whole game is based on, him fighting Thor. But Thor in this one, so like we've been spoiled with the Marvel depiction of Thor, right?
Hmm.
Chris Hemsworth, one of the most handsome gentlemen to grace this earth, right?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
Thor from the Thor from the God of War series just looks like redneck guy with a beer belly and a beard.
Oh yeah, like I remember somebody did share that to Facebook. I did see that where
Yeah, I was like, this is Thor.
he looks like Thor when he let himself go, but more
Yeah,
intimidating.
yeah, yeah. Not he is a little intimidating, but like that's not the Thor that I'm used to seeing. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
like Mjolnir's got to put some extra pep in his step to lift that guy off the ground.
It looks pretty savage though.
Yeah, yeah, he does look pretty savage. He doesn't look like a guy that I would pick a fight with.
No, definitely not. Like,
So, do you have like a specific era in history that you would like go back to if you could?
yeah, I've recently read Empire of the Summer Moon, which I know you've probably heard about because Joe Rogan talks about it a lot. It's about the Comanches in America, and
Okay.
yeah, just how they basically dominated. They had their land mass consisted of like 5 U.S. states, and they were big. They were actually huge in the Panhandle. Quanah Parker, if you've heard of that story, was he was a Comanche, one of the best leaders of all time, and then Quanah, Texas, was named after him, which you drive
Yeah.
through every on your way to Dallas. But
Right.
yeah, just the way they talk about the Panhandle, like before people settled it,
Yeah.
like white settlers, European settlers were terrified to go through the Panhandle because it was just flat, windy. They could see for miles, and it's I was just picturing like being somewhere you've never seen before, no civilization around you, and just being horrified. Like you don't know what's 10 miles ahead.
Right.
Just
Right.
seeing like I'd like to go back and just see like an endless sea of just like grass and just
Oh,
think about how weird that would be, like.
yeah. Yeah.
And then I went back and thought about like Lewis and Clark, how they like voyaged through and like drew maps, like how ballsy that must have been. Like you don't know, you have no idea what you're gonna walk up to.
Yeah.
Like how they even
Yeah.
survived is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine what that map must have looked like too?
Oh, crazy stuff.
Yeah. That map would have been ridiculous. Like
Hmm.
how much paper did they bring to draw this crap out, you know?
Yeah, it's a good
I,
question.
yeah, because like there's no way that they're going to have the same view as the overview that we have of the US. You know, we can see the outline in our head, you know, Florida down here, California over here, all the colonies up here.
Hmm.
Like well, like they had no idea,
Hmm.
absolutely no clue, and they just went out and walked.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. And then that book's really good because it talks about like how the Comanches were like the first tribe to fight on horseback, and so
Ooh.
they were dominating like the Europeans for like the longest time. They were dominating the Mexicans. They were dominating the Spanish, the French, everybody. Nobody could fight with them because they'd have to get off their horse and shoot their rifle. And
Right, right.
the Comanches were just shooting off the horseback, just dominating. And then it wasn't until Samuel Colt and then the six shooter and the Texas Rangers showed up that they actually like stood a chance against the Comanches. But I mean,
Dude.
disease probably would have wiped most of them out regardless. But
Right.
yeah, the six shooter changed the game, and that's really awesome to like learn about.
Yeah. And then it got real dark after that.
Yeah, so pretty much the interesting thing about the Texas Rangers is they took all their tactics from the Comanches. So they learned how to
Oh, that is crazy to think about.
yeah, they learned how to fight from the Comanches so they could beat the Comanches.
Wow. Wow. Did you
Yeah.
ever watch that film Hostiles with Christian Bale?
No, that looks really good though. I did see the trailer for it.
Yeah, I feel like you would get a kick out of watching that. I mean, it's a really really good movie, but it's dealing with that same kind of, and I think he is a Texas Ranger actually, and he's trying to transport someone through the Panhandle to Oklahoma, and so yeah, crazy stuff.
And
But
then
I would not mess with the Native Americans.
a couple chapters like briefly touch on the Texas Rangers and how they were savage. Like when they were dealing with like European settlers, the settlers were just like trying to get by, and they were dealing with the Spanish, same thing. They were just trying to protect themselves and their land. But the Rangers were like out to get heads. They were out to get scalps. They were like they were like that team of guys.
Glorious bastards.
Yeah, they were like Inglorious Bastards, basically. They were like, we're
I'm checking with you.
just here to kill Indians.
Yeah.
And so they had never fought anyone like that determined to kill them before. So it like changed the landscape.
Yeah, that is intense. I don't know where the human brain, like how you have the capacity to function knowing that I'm here to kill another human being, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That is my goal and that is my mission, you know. I I've never had to do that before. I don't know how to rationally put myself in someone else's shoes like that.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I don't know. You have to have something wrong in your head. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some sort of past trauma that just clicks.
Yeah.
Or unclicks.
So like one thing that we have to talk about. So I do a lot of online consulting with people for personal training, right? And a lot of these people that I meet with, they're like, I hate the gym. I don't want to be here, but I know I have to do this because this is how I'm going to get healthy. And so like the number one thing that we try and do is highlight their motivators. It's like, because that motivation is going to be what gets you up out of bed in the morning. It's going to be what fuels you to go into the gym, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it actually kind of gave me some really good insight to how like human psychology works. Because it's like every criminal, every serial killer, every dictator, they all have some type of like supreme motivator that they're basing all of their decisions off of, right? That's really what it comes down to, their MO. And so for those Comanches, it's like, was their MO to just keep their land, or were they just like, hey, screw everybody that comes out here and tries to take what we have, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then you have an equally savage but totally adverse MO from the Texas Rangers, and they're going to do the same thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if it would have to take so much to get like a real true motivator for me to be like, all right, I'm cool with killing people.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Comanches were just nomadic, so they would just follow buffalo, like, so they didn't really like stick in one place.
Yeah.
They just stayed in like a general large area.
Right.
But yeah, it's hard to even know what their motivations were aside from eat buffalo and have a good time.
Right. And can you imagine just like one day chilling on a shore, all of a sudden you see a boat and you've never seen a boat before?
Yeah, that movie, Apocalyptic,
Yeah.
is that what it's called? Yeah, with Mel Gibson.
And then you see these guys come off with these fancy metal helmets. Like these are aliens.
Yeah,
These guys are here to kill.
that's some scary stuff.
Yeah.
And I just watched. I rewatched. We were talking about Tom Hardy earlier. I rewatched The Revenant. Have you seen that movie?
So someone ruined the ending for me, and I never watched it.
Oh, dude, you should watch it because I forgot how good it looks. Like the cinematography is awesome. Like the fight scenes, it feels like a video game.
Okay,
like,
heck yeah.
It's done so well. And then him getting attacked by the bear.
Oh.
He probably should have died, but that's a brutal scene too. And then Tom Hardy plays the bad guy. Tom Hardy's such a good bad guy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's a great actor. But yeah, you should definitely rewatch that. It's a great movie.
You should. Okay, I'll watch that if you watch Peaky Blinders because he plays a really bad Jewish guy.
All right, I'll watch Peaky Blinders.
Cool, man. Well, I'm fixing to have to jump off, dude. I got to go feed my son.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing some more of the solid puree foods as well as the bottles. So it's always a good time.
Very nice. Oh, I forgot to mention it. I wanted to talk more about your music, but your last single, Toxicity, awesome.
Yeah.
I really like the drums on it.
Yeah.
I'm not musically savvy. I think it's called like a breakdown, where it's the last minute and the drums just come in like super hard. Sick. I like that a lot.
My wife hates it.
Really?
Oh yeah, my wife is not a metal fan at all, and so whenever I threw that in there, it was totally a meme thing to do, right? So like the first half of the song is all like, it's hip hop based elements with some rock infused in it, which is becoming really common with a
Hmm.
bunch of these hip hop artists. So I was like, I'll dabble in that. But I was like, hey, nobody's doing like brutal metal breakdowns in the middle of their songs. So I'll throw this in here as a meme. And I did it. I sent it over to Chris Lane, Sadzilla over there
Oh
in
yeah,
Amarillo.
he's killing
Shout
it.
out. Yeah, shout out to Chris Lane. He is killing it. And he was like, bro, I love this. This is awesome. You need to release this. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I set it up for release and everything like that. And I showed my wife, and she was like, this is so dumb. It was like, I love the song up till that point, and now I hate it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of the song.
Heck yeah. Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad that it can appeal to some people and then
your scream
totally
vocals
turn.
are great.
Hey, thanks. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. I
very
appreciate that.
cool.
We're getting I've got two new singles that I'm working on. One's really hip hop based, the other one's more pop. But I want to try and get more of that same toxic vibe, that we had in that first one. So
Yeah, for
uh,
sure. That's awesome. Oh yeah,
we're
one
getting
last thing before you go. What are your thoughts on Donda? Did you listen to it?
bro. Okay. 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 So I got like 5 minutes I can commit to Donda here. Okay.
All right.
So I was really proud to see that 'cause I thought that Kanye's whole like Christianity feel thing was just a shtick,
Mhm.
you know. I was like, oh, we'll get some listens this way, we'll sell some records this way. But he seems to have stuck with it, right? So first half of the record, I was like floored. I was like, this is amazing. Like I've
Mhm.
never heard this kind of stuff before. I love it. Um, and he featured so many good uh, artists who came in and seemed to have delivered really well on that record too.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it was cool to see him and Jay Z back together. I thought that they had split; they were no longer cool for a while. Uh, seemed to have rekindled their friendship again, which is nice. Jail is by far my favorite song in the entire record. Love it. Um, and it doesn't make sense because it's like the entire track has zero drums in it, and then the last 30 seconds are just drums. And you're
Mhm.
like, why would you do this, Con? Why? It doesn't make sense. Um, but no, it took me a couple listens to get through it. And then I was like, I've fallen in love with this record. Now, let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on Certified Lover Boy by Drake?
Dude, I'm biased. I can't get into Drake. His last couple
Okay.
albums, I can't sit down and listen to a Drake album. I really can't. It's just like he's saying the same stuff he was saying when he was 20 with no substance. And it's
Yep.
like you got to be at least 35 right now. When you're just like
Yeah.
it's like I don't care, dude. Like
Yeah.
nothing he says is interesting to me.
No, I agree. I agree.
I loved the Cuddy feature that he had on his album. I thought that was
Yeah. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
The 21 Savage feature is pretty good,
Yeah.
but Drake standing on his own, I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah. Did you like the Cuddy feature on Donda?
Yes. He
Yeah.
was supposed to be on Remote Control. And there's
Yeah.
still a version of that one out on YouTube, and I still prefer that version. So hopefully, he drops an updated version of
Yeah,
that
because
album.
I'd heard something about him like firing his engineer at one point, and they ended up losing a bunch of tracks. And so
Yeah.
like
No.
they had to get a weird culmination of stuff that they had worked on and previously. I don't know. That the entire release of that record was so unorthodox and so sporadic. I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
I love the album, but it is a good example of like his bipolarness, his schizophrenia. Like if you saw him on Rogan, this album makes perfect sense. But just the way he talks and the way he thinks and the way he just like, I gotta do this,
Yep.
I gotta do that. It's like he doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Complete
It's like
chaos.
as a mock entrepreneur, I guess is what I could call myself since I'm an artist, streamer, whatever. Like as a mock entrepreneur, that gives me so much hope. It's like this guy he is unorthodox in everything that he does
Hmm.
and is still so successful. Still, a billionaire, still killing it. And it's like
Yeah.
that a lot of people look at it as like a crutch or an inability. Like, no, this should inspire you, because if you think that you're better without bipolar syndrome or without schizophrenia, and you think that you have more to give to society, why aren't you a billionaire? Why aren't you out here
Yeah.
starting your own business?
And you can see like with the features, like when he brings people on, they like elevate to his level when he brings the features in. Like it's incredible. Like Kanye West is hands down like my favorite artist. Like he has been for a while. Hey baby, what's up?
Hey, dude.
Yeah. Time to feed him.
Time to feed him, man. Heck yeah, dude. Well, yeah. I'll be sure to send you some new demos that I've got working on.
Sure.
And then get on TikTok and watch Peaky Blinders.
All right. Well, good talking with you, man.
Good talking to you, man. It was a good time catching up. It had been a couple years since we had last talked. So.
Yeah, I'll follow up again sometime. But yeah, good to see you. Take it easy.
Absolutely, Mr. Matt. We'll talk to you later, dude.
Later.
See you, dude.
Clemente's Corner, Clemente's Corner. Good night, bye bye, good morning, off.